Hi, I'm Ian Lincliffe, the Consumer Insider. I'm a consumer protection attorney from Southfield, Michigan, and I love my job. I've been representing consumers for over 25 years in disputes with credit reporting agencies, car dealers, and debt collectors. And every week I bring you an inside scoop on how it is that these companies use documents in the court system to cheat and bully consumers. With a little luck, we're going to help you understand how it is that the credit reporting system works today and teach you how to fight back and resist against these companies as they try to bully you into giving up your rights. Now, today I want to talk to you about credit reporting disputes. This is going to be the first in a multi-part series, and today I really just want to focus on a couple of issues about credit reporting disputes. First is why it is that you would want to dispute anything. Second, how it is that you would dispute, and why it is that you do not need a credit repair organization or credit repair service to help you with this. You really don't need any of that. So let's jump right in the first part of this series. So let's talk about why it is that you would want to dispute a credit report or an item in a credit report. The first and most obvious reason is that it can cost you credit opportunities and money. So let's talk about credit opportunities. First and foremost, when you are applying for credit, federal law requires that creditors who are looking at credit look at objective criteria to determine whether or not you are qualified for that credit. That is in order to help make sure that people do not discriminate based on subjective qualifications or prohibited bases like sex, color, race, country of origin, whatever it is. But they need to look at an objective history of your credit experience and identify other objective criteria to determine whether or not you're entitled to credit. And that's why we have the credit reporting system that we have. It's to help avoid discrimination. Now, with that in mind, if they're looking to your credit history, you have to make sure that that history is accurate. If that credit history has information in it which shows that you have failed to pay your debts or has information about other people on it, that is a really good way to ensure that you never get access to credit. So you want to make sure that your credit history accurately reflects your experience with creditors. You also want to make sure, above all else, that that credit report has accurate information about your identity. And the reason is that identity thieves typically will attack consumers by using partial matches of their identification information. And if that information winds up in your credit file, you may find yourself having information brought into that report from an identity thief or even mixed with another consumer who shares some of the identifiers of the person that the identity thief has used. So you want to make sure that you can get access to credit when you need it. And as a friend of mine says, you always want to dig your well before you're thirsty. So before you need credit, you want to make sure you know what's in the credit and that the credit report is accurate. So first thing is, it will cost you credit opportunities if they see information that's inaccurate. Second thing is, it can cost you money. Now, creditors who are going to issue credit cards and perhaps a mortgage or a retail installment sales contract, they're going to look at that credit report and the credit score to determine how much to charge you. What rate of interest is applicable to the loan that you are asking for? If your credit report reflects that you are a bad credit risk, that you have a low credit score, they will charge you more money to borrow. So instead of getting a low interest rate credit card like a 3, 4, 5%, you can find yourself very quickly having to pay 20 or 25% for a credit card or for a car loan. Those are the kinds of things that add up and very quickly make it nearly impossible to get along or make ends meet. So you want to make sure that your credit report is accurate. Next, you want to make sure that you have access to job opportunities. And that can be things like either getting a new job or getting a promotion or a raise at your current job. And by this, what I mean is that many employers today are looking to credit reports to determine whether or not to hire and fire and promote and give raises to people. This is not something new, but the data has become so accessible and it's so easy to get access to these credit reports and so much information beyond just the credit information about traffic offenses and arrests, other kinds of histories, maybe even your retail shopping history or your history of returning items. This is all information that can appear in a credit report, and an employer, a prospective employer, can look at this in the context of you applying for a job. And if you are an employee of the federal government, you may need to get a security clearance, and that security clearance may require an examination of your credit history. And if you're applying for a job in the financial services sector, you can certainly expect that they want to see your payment history and make sure that you're not a person who is a risk of embezzling or taking money from the company or its customers. So you want to make sure your credit reports are accurate for those reasons. Lastly, insurance companies these days are using credit scores to determine your insurance rates. So if you want to know why your insurance rate is so high, you may want to take a look at your credit report and see if your insurance company has pulled your credit report. Now, there are some places where this is now becoming illegal for insurance companies to do, but it is still a highly prevalent practice in the states where it is legal, and they are using these credit reports to determine how much you pay for your car, home, and life insurance. So you want to make sure that these credit reports are absolutely accurate. So now that we know why it is that you want to make these disputes, now we want to talk a little bit about how it is that you make these disputes. So first and foremost, this is not a magic process. It does not require a lawyer. It does not require a credit repair service. It doesn't require anybody else. The right to dispute items on your credit report is provided for in a statute called the Fair Credit Reporting Act. You can find a copy of that statute on my website. Got a free copy there. You can also download it from a number of sites, including the Cornell website and the Federal Trade Commission. But we have it available for you on my website as well. The Fair Credit Reporting Act provides that if there's an error and an inaccuracy on your credit report, you have the absolute right to dispute that information. And the way that you do it is, there's three common ways that you can do it, but I'm going to recommend that you do one of these in particular. The three ways that you can do it is, number one, you can do it in a phone call. Number two, you can do it in an online dispute. And number three, you can do it by letter. But I want to go through those three ways first and tell you why it is you want to use a letter. So you can use a phone call. You can call any of the bureaus at their 800 numbers. They have these numbers established for accepting disputes and requests for credit reports. The problem with using a phone call is, number one, you don't have proof of what it is that you gave to them. So if there's an issue and you need to actually follow up and file a lawsuit of some sort, you don't have proof of what was said in that conversation, what was done. So that's the first problem with the phone call. And the second problem with the phone call is you cannot provide supporting documentation. That is a very difficult thing to provide over the phone, and ultimately, if your dispute rests on the fact that you have documents to support your position, you want to be able to give those to the credit reporting agency so they can see that the item is wrong. So phone calls are not a great way of disputing information on the credit report. Second way you can do it is you can do it online. And I never let my clients make their disputes online for a very simple reason. In order to have access to your report and the dispute system that the credit reporting agencies provide you online, you have to log into their website and provide information about your identity. Now, this is not something that I like to have anybody do, because if you have malware on your system and there's a keystroke logger, somebody can actually get access to that remotely. That is a smaller concern, but the bigger concern is that the credit reporting agencies have from time to time embedded in their websites an agreement, a binding mandatory arbitration clause that is effectively your waiver of a right to sue them if they continue to make errors after you put them on notice that what they're saying is wrong. So you don't want to write a dispute with potentially the expectation that that dispute is going to be rejected by the bureaus, only to find out that in order to make that dispute and be rejected, you've waived your right to sue them. You've waived all of your consumer rights. So we don't want consumers to do that. And the other thing that's important to note is that the credit reporting agencies have taken to a practice of redirecting consumers away from their own websites to affiliated websites rather than allowing you to make the disputes directly to those reporting agencies. So while I can't tell you, all I know is that right now they are redirecting to these affiliate sites where you may be tendering a dispute. And if you are tendering a dispute to somebody other than the credit reporting agency, that is not a way of perfecting your rights. Your disputes have to go directly to the consumer reporting agency in order to preserve your rights under the statute, and specifically it's the right to sue. So if you wind up getting redirected away from the Bureau's website automatically, the problem will be that you will not have the right to sue them if you wind up tendering that dispute to somebody else. So you want to make sure that you are making those disputes directly to the consumer reporting agency, and the best way to do that is to send a letter to an address that you know belongs to the credit reporting agencies. So once we know that you have to make these disputes, what is it that you have to do with them? Well, all you need to do is write a letter and put them on notice of the inaccuracies. We tell our clients specifically that when they're making these disputes, they should always include supporting documentation to tell the bureaus exactly what it is wrong with the report. So you want to identify the error with the report, you want to provide the proof document that you have and support it, and you want to attach those documents. And once you're done, you want to make sure you sign that letter and you make a complete copy of the letter. Once you have a complete copy of that letter, you want to take that letter and mail that by certified mail return receipt request. For those of you who haven't done this, this is a service provided by the U.S. Postal Service. You're going to have to do this at the post office. But what it does is it allows you to send a letter and get a signed receipt for when that letter is coming back to you at your house. So that receipt will come back in the form of a green postcard, and you will have proof that your dispute letter has been received by the credit reporting agency once you've sent it off to them. Okay? One of the other things that you're going to want to do in addition to writing that dispute letter is you're going to want to write a cover letter and attach a copy of that dispute to the cover letter that's going to be sent to the creditors whose trade lines or information on your credit reports have been disputed. So, for instance, if you see on your credit report that there's an item there for Bank of America and that Bank of America account is not yours and it's an identity theft item, you send a letter to Bank of America, and the letter should be, "Dear Mr. Bank of America, here's a copy of the dispute that I've made to TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. Please remove this." So even though the dispute letters under the Fair Credit Reporting Act have to be sent to the credit reporting agency if you want to trigger all of your rights, you are still going to send that copy over to Bank of America, and they have an obligation to do an investigation. And what this is going to do is it means that when the credit reporting agencies ultimately communicate with Bank of America, you know that Bank of America will have a complete copy of your dispute in hand if the bureaus haven't sent a complete copy. So one of the other things that you want to make sure that you do once you've got that letter ready to go is you want to make sure that you've got a signed copy of the letter in your files together with your return receipt, and you want the same thing for your carbon copies to the other credit reporting agencies as well as the one to Bank of America. So now you got your letters, they've been addressed, they're out, and they're off to the credit reporting agencies, and that should trigger the important rights for you under the Fair Credit Reporting Act. That's it for this part of the video, and just so you know, again, we are going to be doing a couple more parts to this video. We are going to make sure that you have everything that you need to know in order to be able to effectively write these letters. I'm going to give some instructions in the next video about how it is that you're going to write the actual letter, the content of the letter, and what it needs to sound like and look like. And we'll do this with some real live examples. And then in the final part of the series, I'm going to explain what this dispute process looks like from the viewpoint of the credit reporting agencies and the furnishers, and how it is that this is going to be handled once you've gotten that dispute letter out. That's it for today. I'm Ian Linklip, the Consumer Insider. Thanks for spending your time with me. You can find me on the web at www.consumerlawyers.com. I'm on Twitter at MI Consumer Law. I'm on Facebook at Michigan Consumer Law Center. And if you have any questions for me, anything you'd like me to address about consumer credit, I'm happy to do it. Send me a question to podcast@consumerlawyers.com. And I will either answer that question on a video or do my best to get you an answer and respond. I do respond to the comments that you make down below. And remember, if this video helped you, pay it forward, help somebody else, share the video, hit the like button, write us a review so that somebody else can find us and make use of it. That's all for today. Thanks much.